A nudge in the right direction, nudging college students in a flipped class to become more self-regulatory. I'm JRichardson. I started my educational doctorate in the Educational Technology Department in 2020, just as COVID hit. Soon after I started my studies, I had a colleague introduce me to a newer theory that I could see being very applicable to education. The theory is introduced in the book Nudge by Thaler and Sunstein. This theory stated that people can be nudged toward an optimal choice with a subtle change in the environment. This can influence behaviors without restricting the freedom of choice. To give some context, my study was conducted at a Northwestern university during the 14-week fall semester. The university employs a flipped classroom approach guided by the prepare, teach one another, ponder, and prove model. Students engage with the preparatory materials prior to class, actively participate in collaborative learning sessions with the instructors and peers, and subsequently apply their understanding to assessments. Self-regulated learning, or the ability for students to take charge of their own learning process, is important in a flipped classroom environment. I wondered how nudges in an undergraduate college class could be beneficial. In flipped learning classes, instructors expect students to take the responsibility for their learning. This responsibility requires students to have a myriad of study skills that they can use to get through all the challenges to achieve their learning goals. But for many first-year undergraduate students, these skills are unfamiliar, so they do not know how to implement them. With the course loads that students are expected to carry, the amount of coursework can be overwhelming. Students without the study skills can quickly fall behind. Research on nudge theory suggests that instructors can prompt students to encourage the on-time completion of their coursework. As young people enter post-secondary studies, they are treated as adults and are expected to know how to, quote-unquote, adult. Instructors assume these students know how to study, stay on task, and self-regulate. Despite this, on the whole, undergraduate students are found to have just as much difficulty self-regulating, if not more, than students in K-12 classes. One area in particular in which students struggle with self-regulated learning is knowing how to start. This study aimed to help students understand how to plan tasks within the course so that they complete coursework on time. After learning these skills, I hope the students will transfer them to future coursework. This study investigated the impact of nudges in encouraging undergraduate college students to complete their coursework on time in courses using a flipped class approach. By exploring the use of nudges in a flipped class, the study provides insights into practical strategies to encourage students to complete coursework on time, which can help students become more engaged, independent, and successful learners. With many students not having the study skills needed to perform acceptably in college-level courses, it is necessary to identify how instructional designers and instructors can best use nudging in higher education to encourage on-time completion of coursework. For this study, I was interested in how nudges can affect college students in their studies. I narrowed the topic down to 3 questions. The first research question is, how do reminder nudges influence undergraduate college students' timely completion of coursework in a flipped class? Going along with that, I was interested in which type of nudge do students perceive to have a greater influence on coursework completion. My second research question was, how do self-regulation nudges influence undergraduate students' timely completion of coursework in a flipped class? It's important to know what has already been learned about the topic. Barry Zimmerman is one of the first proponents of the self-regulated learning. He is considered the seminal author on this subject. Self-regulated learning means that students take responsibility for their own learning. This includes all the skills one needs to reach their learning goals. In a 2019 study, Angela Duckworth and her colleagues found that while instructors in colleges and universities expect students to manage their study loads that come with being an undergraduate college student, many students do not have the skills to self-regulate their learning. While instructors expect students to be able to manage the study load in college, 48% of students surveyed by Varel and McCabe wish they had been better prepared in time management. A flipped classroom approach, as defined by Lage and colleagues in 2000, inverting the classroom means that events that have traditionally taken place inside the classroom now take place outside the classroom and vice versa. A traditional class is more teacher-centric. A flipped class is more student-centered. Students review the lectures and other learning materials before coming to class. Activities that take place in the classroom emphasize applying the knowledge they learned in the preparation materials, not just sitting passively while the teacher does everything. Active and collaborative learning are the focus in flipped classrooms. In a meta-analysis, Dumgard and Nielsen found that students tend to be more motivated in a flipped class. They are responsible for reviewing the preparation materials before class. If they don't, the classroom experience is not beneficial. Some of the benefits of a flipped class approach are having resources for students to return to as many times as they need, increasing student collaboration and active learning, and having greater opportunities for instructors to work individually with students. Jiang and colleagues noted that the greatest challenge of a flipped class is ensuring that students review the preparation materials. The nudge theory was popularized by Thaler and Sunstein in 2008 in their book Nudge: Improving Decisions About Health, Wealth, and Happiness. Thaler and Sunstein divided nudges into two types. Type 1 nudges are cues that people are not aware of that trigger behaviors that they may not be aware of. These would be considered knee-jerk reactions. Type 2 nudges are cues that trigger responses that cause people to pause and think about the decision, helping to create a good habit. An example of this would be an announcer at a concert or movie asking people to silence their phones. Thaler and Sunstein are behavioral economists. They were interested in finding ways to help people make better financial decisions. Nudging in education has not been studied as widely as in other disciplines. In fact, only 4% of the studies conducted about nudges were conducted in the field of education. Most of these studies involve how to get high school students to fill out college applications or apply for financial aid. There have been studies conducted about these topics separately: nudges in flipped classes, nudges in self-regulated learning, and self-regulated learning in flipped classes. However, very few studies have been conducted on the use of nudges in a flipped class to encourage on-time coursework completion. There is a gap in the literature on this topic. This study is a multiple case study. Two sections of the same 300-level Educational Psychology and Human Development course in the Teacher Education Department at a Northwestern university were used to study nudges to encourage on-time coursework completion. Case 1 received reminder nudges. Reminder nudges are simply those that remind students to do something. Case 2 received self-regulated learning nudges. These nudges were designed to help students plan their study activities to complete their coursework on time. The students in this course are mostly freshmen and sophomores. In discussing with the instructor who taught this class, he was concerned that students don't seem to be reviewing the preparation materials and are forgetting to turn weekly assignments in on time. For Case 1, all students received a reminder nudge the night before readings were due. The reminder was simply, "Your readings are due tomorrow." In this class, weekly assignments were due on Saturday nights. For Case 1, only students who had not submitted their assignments by Friday morning, before the due date, received a reminder nudge about the assignment's due date. Franklin and colleagues recommended that nudges receive more attention if they have a motivational message included. The assignment reminders had a motivational message, tailored to the assignment topic. An example would be, someone once said, "An idea without a plan is nothing more than a dream. Your grad plan timeline is due tomorrow." These reminders also had a link to the assignment for ease of access. Students in Case 2 received self-regulated learning nudges. One of the skills of self-regulation is time management. In this section of the course, a planning strategy instructional video was created. This video was part of the first week overview page. This video had tips about chunking required work in the class. For example, reading a bit of the assigned reading each day instead of all of it in one day, and completing sections of the homework assignments throughout the week instead of all at one sitting. Finally, the video demonstrated how to create a study planning calendar to help plan study time over the course of a week. If students followed along with the video as they were nudged to do, a study plan for the first week was completed for them in the video. Beginning in week 2 of the semester, students in Case 2 received a self-regulation learning nudge through the learning management system. This message simply said, "Have you filled out your planning calendar this week? Have you looked ahead to see what is coming up?" As I stated earlier, assignments were due on Saturdays. Each Saturday, students in Case 2 were also asked to complete an end-of-the-week survey. This survey appeared along with the assignment submission for student convenience. Cresswell and Poth noted that in a case study there should be several types of data collected. Many data sources were collected in this study. The data sources used were new analytics reports in Canvas, end-of-week surveys collected from students in Case 2, focus group discussions in both cases, and interviews with 3 students from each case. There was purposeful sampling for these interviews to ensure a variety of student experiences. Saldana recommends that data in a qualitative study should go through multiple coding cycles. All data went through the following coding cycles: holistic, attribute, initial and structural, causal and evaluation, and themes. Case 1 was used to explore research questions 1 and 1.1. The data used for research question 1 were analytics reports, focus group discussions, and individual interviews, all from Case 1. The data that was analyzed for research question 1.1 were focus group discussions and individual interviews, all from Case 1. Case 2 was used to explore research question 2. The data used for research question 2 were analytics reports, end-of-week surveys, focus group discussions, and individual interviews, all for Case 2. I will now discuss the findings from the study, followed by the discussion of the findings. There were 3 themes that came from the coding analyses of the data for research questions 1 and 1.1. First, nudges help with student accountability. Next, nudges are most helpful for students new to college and students with unstructured classes. Finally, nudge fatigue reduces the benefits gained from nudges. In the focus group discussions for Case 1, students highlighted time management as their primary challenge in college. Balancing coursework with jobs, family, and social activities often led to coursework not being completed on time. While students acknowledged their responsibility for learning, they appreciated reminder nudges from instructors to stay on track, particularly for assignment deadlines. Students suggested that these nudges would be especially beneficial for new college students and those students in courses that lack structure. Students in the focus group discussion and individual interviews for Case 1 provided suggestions for instructors regarding the use of nudges. They emphasized the need for consistent reminders about due dates, especially for new students or those struggling with time management. They recommended nudges to help break down larger assignments and keep track of progress to avoid last-minute rushes. While well-structured courses benefited from nudges, students faced challenges in courses with less organization, such as missing due dates or unclear instructions. The students expressed a preference for assignment nudges with due dates and links, which they considered most helpful in managing their workload. Students' responses to nudges changed throughout the semester, with initial anxiety being moved to indifference and fatigue. While initially feeling pressured by the reminders, students eventually began ignoring or deleting them without reading them. Suggestions to alleviate nudge fatigue included allowing students to disable notifications when they felt they no longer needed them, and varying the wording of nudges to make them more engaging. Personalized nudges were also recommended, as students felt more motivated when they perceived messages as directed specifically to them. Overall, students appreciated the efforts to make nudges feel more personalized and relevant to their individual needs and progress. There were 3 themes that came from the coding analyses of the data for question 2 as well. First, there are many ways to track coursework accountability. Second, personalized nudges bring greater satisfaction and a sense of accountability. And third, nudge fatigue can be distracting to students with their coursework. In Case 2, students were introduced to a video by the researcher explaining how to chunk assignments and readings for their course. While many students initially viewed the video, they found various methods of organizing their coursework more effective for them individually than the planning calendar that was suggested. These methods include using the to-do list in the learning management system, online computer applications such as Trello or Microsoft OneNote, and mental lists. Some students preferred making a physical list or using a planner, but these methods were less common. In the focus group discussion, it was emphasized that the act of planning coursework was the important aspect, not the method they used. Students in Case 2 seemed to display a greater sense of accountability as the responsibility for planning coursework completion was the focus of the initial video in this section of the course. They discussed how they were more aware of the responsibility for completing their work and found strategies that worked best for them. Students also expressed that personalized nudges, tailored to address specific areas for improvement, would be more effective in promoting accountability and motivating them to complete their coursework on time. Students in Case 2 responded similarly to nudges as students in Case 1. They found the planning calendar nudges and end-of-week surveys repetitive, leading them to delete or ignoring them. Some students felt that the self-regulation nudges were distracting, especially when they popped up on their phones while they were already working on homework. Others found them overwhelming, particularly when they were already feeling stressed due to a hectic schedule. This resulted in increased anxiety and a sense of being overwhelmed by additional tasks. Case 1 was used in exploring research question 1 about how reminder nudges influence on-time coursework completion. Students felt that reminder nudges helped with their accountability by helping to track assignment deadlines. Nudges also are beneficial to students who are disorganized. By providing timely reminders, these nudges helped students manage their time effectively and promoted a sense of accountability. Regular nudges help students break down larger assignments into manageable tasks. However, students expressed a need for consistent nudges for larger projects to stay on track throughout the semester. The study emphasizes the importance of nudging in helping students navigate coursework efficiently, especially in classes with less organization or structured learning management systems. Nudges can be a valuable tool for guiding students through academic studies, helping them to stay focused throughout the semester. Overall, the findings point to the benefits of regular reminders and prompts in supporting students' academic success in both routine assignments and larger projects. Students in Case 1 were also used in examining which types of nudges students felt had the most influence on their timely completion of coursework. Students clearly expressed that they preferred timely reminders about assignment due dates, especially for less consistent tasks, such as term projects. They appreciate personalized nudges that help break down larger assignments into manageable tasks. However, the effectiveness of these reminders depend upon the timing and wording. Students shared that repetitive messages became monotonous over time, leading to nudge fatigue. To maximize the nudge influence, it is important for those responsible for sending nudges to avoid repetitive messages. It is also important to balance the frequency and content of the reminders to prevent overwhelming students and to maintain their receptiveness of these nudges over time. Students in Case 2 were used in observing how self-regulation nudges influence on-time completion of coursework. These students expressed that in the planning phase of self-regulation, they have to find a technique that works for them. One way doesn't work for everyone. Students also do not like generic nudges. Personalized messages, including using students' names, were perceived as more caring and received a more positive response. Personalized messages were determined to be more effective. Finally, students raised the concern about the number of repetitive nudges, which led to nudge fatigue and reduced the effectiveness of nudges over time. They suggested that sending a few nudges at the beginning of the semester to establish the rhythm of the class and the habit of planning would be helpful, but reduce the number of nudges as the semester progressed. Attitudes about nudges changed over the course of the semester, with an initial sense of urgency diminishing over time. By week 5, many students in both cases stopped opening the nudge emails, but still remembered the message, indicating the effectiveness of the nudge even without direct engagement. Nudge fatigue was observed in both cases, with repetitive nudges becoming overwhelming and leading to decreased responsiveness over time. In Case 2, students expressed a preference for reminder nudges about assignment due dates rather than planning nudges, even though reminder nudges were not part of the study for them. This suggests a desire for more direct reminders to manage their coursework effectively. In conclusion, this study examined the impact of reminder and self-regulation nudges on undergraduate students' timely completion of coursework in a flipped classroom setting. Reminder nudges initially promoted accountability and on-time submissions, but lost effectiveness over time due to a nudge fatigue. Self-regulation nudges varied their impact, with some students finding them beneficial for developing learning skills, while others perceived them as distracting. The research highlights the importance of tailoring nudge strategies to individual student needs and preferences and combining different nudge types for maximum impact. These findings contribute valuable insights for educators aiming to support student success in flipped classroom models, emphasizing the need for ongoing refinement and customization of nudge interventions to create a more supportive learning environment. Thank you.